Hello, everyone. I'm Colin Tessier of WrestleZone.com, joined by John Clark, to talk about WWE NXT 2.0. John, how you doing on this fine Tuesday evening?
Pretty good. How about you?
Pretty good, pretty good. Can't complain. John, do you know what time it is?
10:14 p.m. Eastern time.
John, I tried to.
Unfortunately, I don't know if you were getting at this, but I can tell you what it's not. It's not jacket time.
See, that is also not quite what I was going for. I was going for toaster time because that was
Ah,
a friend of the show, DJ, commented that right before. I canceled right before. It was sometime during the show before Ali J was scheduled to perform. He made a joke about toaster time. I guess he commented on one of the tweets about her, and Ali J commented on his tweet that I was added in. So I got like drag DJ pointing out Ollie J. I don't think she hates us, but
not
we
me.
got a little interaction there with tonight's musical guest star here. I'm trying to figure out the technical side of things. I can't find her name tags. That's fine. Y'all know who we are. That's okay. But you know, just it's funny. Obviously, we write about this stuff. We kind of were on the very outside of things. Every once in a while, you kind of get roped into something a little bit here, even if it's just a little interaction like this. Kind of caught me by surprise. But yes, tonight, right off the bat, two things that. I guess the one major thing with this in two matches was the continuation of the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic, starting right off here with MSK and jacket time. And John, right before this match began, I tweeted, please, don't let jacket time win. I will not be able to come on this show and say jacket time is moving on in the Dusty Cup. I just can't do it. And it was a very good match. Kushida's great. Ikemen or Gyro or whatever is great. Everyone's great. Jacket Time, the name is not great. So I did not want to have to come on here this week, likely the week after this, and maybe even longer, talking about Jacket Time being in the men's Dusty Cup here. So thankfully they're out. NSK won. NSK will try to two-peat by winning 2 years in a row. But this was a very good match. I liked it. MSK looked good here. Ness was upset saying Jacket Time was her pick. Brian Everett saying good team, bad name. But yes, Herman, I'm with you. He was saying happy that Jacket Time lost. John, what do you think about this opening match and MSK's on continuation, their move onto the next round here?
Oh boy. Well, jacket time has good chemistry together as a team. It's been getting better and better every week. I think that the matches deserve a little more time, maybe. I think that they've been a little short so far, especially compared to the first couple editions of the tournament itself. Um, MSK has the it factor. They're a good tag team. They were brought over from Impact for a reason. They are surely eventually going to be main roster bound. They're just they kind of remind me of the Street Profits when they were in NXT, but they're a little more successful in NXT, being that they were champions. They came from a more storied past. Nevertheless, I don't think they're going to win again, but of course they're in the Final Four again, so we'll see where it leads.
Well, the thing is now the field is thinning. That's how tournaments go. And now we are down to, I guess, we know that now what the semifinal matchups will be. We know that Jack and Time is advanced. We know that the Grizzly Young Veterans advanced. Talk about them in a minute. Also, you got the Creed brothers and goodness gracious. Oh, wait, Creed Brothers. And, of course, Idris Enofa and Malik Blade and DJ picking them to win the whole thing. They got a whole a video package tonight in which they were talking about how they're going to win and they're going to ask out Toxic Attraction. And Idris was making his pec stance a la Chris Masters 2010. So I tweeted, I'm like, that's a wrap on that one. Like the second Vince McMahon sees that, he's going to have him do that on WWE TV if he does make it to the main roster. Not the best comparison to be made there in that sense, but I saw this, right when they announced the bracket, I was like, this is a pretty thin field, and now, I can't remember who lost last week, but it was like a pretty big name. I don't even remember, but like the one that whoever beat, it was Harlan and Joe Gacy. I thought they could have been a pretty good dark horse team. They lost in the first round to Idris and Malik. So, no, I do think it's a pretty thin field, and I would hope MSK, I would like, again, the problem is the booking, John, the gimmicks. I want it to be Girls and Veterans. This is the third consecutive year they've made it to, I guess this will be the third year in a row they've made it to the semifinals. I think at least 2 years in a row they've been to the finals of the finals itself. Come on, they can't always be the bridesmaid. All right, they've got to be the bride eventually. All right, let's just, come on. I hope so. At least tonight, they focused on the wrestling. They weren't focused on weird schemes to get one over on people or anything. So they remain a very good team in the ring. So no, I do. I guess I am rooting for them in that sense. And again, Steven Chambers, good team. Don't like their gimmick. So in this case, the name's fine, but the gimmick is not. Jacket Time, name, gimmick, everything in between. But they're also great in the ring. This was a very good match. Grizzly Veterans, they wound up beating Andre Chase and Buddy Hayward, long lost member of the Gun Club by all appearances. He was wearing this bandana kind of thing on his head, and he's got a lot long blonde hair. Definitely reminded me of one of Billy Gunn's kids running out there. Thought he looked fine. But Andre Chase, I say it pretty much every time he's on TV. He's one of the, for me at least, one of the more underrated characters or the new people we've seen come out of NXT 2.0 here. Yeah, you've got your Braun Breakers and your Grayson Wallers and this and that and everything else. Andre Chase, he's making, chicken salad out of, what? Like on paper, this gimmick isn't great, but he's got the student section cheering for him. He's doing the stomps and chanting, Chase University. He's doing a great job with it. I like it a lot. I'm entertained. I do enjoy it. But of course, yes, Girls and Young Veterans won, and then everyone's favorite, Von Wagner, showed up. Steve Bonilla, at least he didn't talk. No, as we had said when he first had his suspension reversed, that it would seem to appear he would be getting a manager. I believe we, or at least some of our viewers here, suggested probably Robert Stone. And yes, that is what happened. It was Robert Stone. He came back with Robert Stone tonight. Robert Stone, pretty clearly the guy that paid to have Von's suspension overturned. So yes, Brian Everett. Yes, I am happy Von has a manager. I think this was necessary, for Von to have kind of any kind of hope to salvage this singles run he's on now in the aftermath of the Kyle O'Reilly stuff, and now they're still. I mean, from the start they're trying to really push him pretty quickly here. I think Robert Stone will help. I'm glad for Robert Stone. He was pretty aimlessly floating around there for a while. But John, thoughts on Girls and Young Veterans and the return of Von Wagner with a new manager?
Yeah, so as far as the match with Chase U goes, I think the right selection was made in the end. The match was okay. The Creed brothers are more than likely going to win, no matter who won this match tonight, whether it be uh, Chase U or Girls and Young Veterans. I think the Creed brothers are probably going to win and go to the finals. Now, as far as Wagner, of course, he needed somebody that could talk for him. He's gotten that. Um, Maybe Robert Stone has the chance to become not just a laughing stock, but actually something more relevant. We'll see, I guess.
Yeah, we've seen him have some pretty bad lows here and there. He got shot by Shotzi's tank. He dressed up as Elvis at like the Halloween party or whatever it was. Definitely a laughing stock has been a more applicable term, but I think it'd be cool to see him in a more serious and prominent role. Am I thrilled as Von Wagner? No, but I think maybe if anybody could kind of help maybe reverse the trend here of what we've seen with Von Wagner, that it could help. That it's going to give him something that he hasn't had, and that to me that would be better promos, better character. Because as we've seen, Von Wagner really has not had that character really here. So I think this could be good. I think it'll be beneficial. Compared to what we had been seeing. DJ asking, thinking, is Andre Chase in this case a babyface? He got attacked by Von Wagner. I don't think it's a face or a gimmick in itself. I think it's the kind of thing where the crowd's getting into it, and it's carrying this weird dynamic. And we see this a lot where the fans get into. I think of like a guy like Fandango back in the day when people were like singing his theme song, even when he was a heel. Like people will get into a part of a character or the theme or just the overall presentation. Doesn't mean the person's a face. It just means the fans kind of are digging it, especially in NXT. It's more of the kind of an isolated environment, kind of like that. It's a special kind of thing. So, well, yeah, he got attacked like that. Wouldn't necessarily mean he's a face. I mean, I could be wrong on that one. I mean, I think it'd be kind of cool to have a face teacher kind of thing. I saw someone tweeted the other day during the Chad Gable stuff on Raw. They're saying it seems like Vince McMahon thinks smart people are evil, because a lot of the time you see these gimmicks and it's like smart people are the heels. It's like over the years you see it over and over again. Now we see with Chad Gable on Raw, Andre Chase has been a heel with this very academic, intelligent gimmick he's doing now. So I think it'd be interesting to kind of to reverse that and maybe have him be more of a good guy. But that's more my take on it at this point. But that was the Dusty Cup. Again, Johnny, I think you had just mentioned you kind of predicting the Creed brothers to win it. I think that's I overlook them. I think that'd be a good way to establish them. We know that they'll be in action and 6-man action next week against Imperium. Imperium had a promo where Gunther, everyone's favorite powerhouse, he of the new name Gunther, was explaining about his name, and for a second I thought, like, it started off, it's obviously has subtitles. He's talking about his family given name, and I thought they're trying to establish that Gunther was his family given name, and no, he's leaving behind his family given name of Walter, and he's pushing that behind him, moving and burying the past, as NXT loves to do, and moving on in a new direction, and moving on to a new chapter with Gunther. And I mean, at least I got to give them like a little credit. They're always trying to make it make sense. That wasn't just a wholly random change. But again, they need to do it in the first place. Walter was just fine, and now you have this whole promo about the change. Like, it just seems kind of gratuitous, and especially the obviously, as we talked about last week. I overlooked it at the time, but the day after the show, especially last Wednesday, the whole internet was just really, really harping on WWE, I'd say rightfully so, about the Gunther Stark name, all that controversy. Don't get into it right now, but they dropped that copyright, and it's just Gunther. But I think that's still that association's still there. It is just Gunther. It is Imperium. They're moving on, trying to have this new era. They'll be facing Diamond Mine. We had a promo from Malcolm Bivens where he said Gunther's an awful name. He should have been born. I think he's born like dumbass, spelled in all caps or something like that. He called Walter a big dumb Austrian tree. Bivens is so good. He's a treasure. So it's setting up a 6-man match next week with these two stables. John, what are you thinking about this ongoing rivalry between guys other than Legado, the two leading stables here at this point on NXT?
I don't know. I think it's maybe just a pushover for both of them to give them something to do. I'm not really intrigued too much by it. I think it's just no real meaningful rivalry. Maybe just a match here to kind of put it under wraps. As far as the name change and addressing that and everything, like, it is what it is at this point. It's fine, whatever. I'm hoping maybe there's a chance that you could see him this Saturday at the Rumble. Who knows? It's reported that he's supposed to be in the St. Louis area this weekend, so we'll see if he ends up being in the match. Otherwise, just hopefully it's just a good match. Not really much else to say.
That's what Brian's saying. It's going to be a banger. I mean, we've got Roderick Strong, Walter. We've seen Fabian Eichner and Marcel Barthel do some amazing things pretty much every time they're in the ring. The Creed brothers, we still haven't quite gotten to see all that they can do. They're still, pretty early on in their journeys. I think this will be a good chance for them to have a breakout moment, especially as they continue on in the Dusty Cup here. So, I think it'll be good. I probably would agree it's probably not going to be much more beyond that next week, because we already had the singles match. Where else do you really go? I would agree with Steven saying he doesn't see anyone beating Imperium for a while. I would agree either as a trio, as a team, anybody beating Walter. Like, they are pretty much set up to be a dominant force here, and I think beating Diamond Mine will be a good way to do that. And especially now, as we said, I've been saying for months, and we've both kind of agreed, like, the second Walter actually comes to NXT, like, it'll be very, very good for him, for Imperium, for the show, and we're already seeing that maybe other than the Gunther thing. But I think this is very good, and it would be cool to see him in the Rumble, just to kind of get him that additional exposure in front of a bigger audience. So I think that's a fair prediction at this point. So I would definitely like to see that. Something that I wasn't maybe excited to see tonight, but wanted to be pretty good nonetheless. DJ saying Boa and Sikoa had the match of the night, at least of the non-tournament action. So they had I think it was like a no DQ, no count out. I think it was called a street fight, whatever, however they described it. Anything, it was basically anything goes. They brawled all over the place in a feud that they've framed as a real bitter blood feud. And I continue to sit here. I'm like, I know that Solo got the fireball in the face, and he's mad about that, rightfully so, and he wants revenge. But this really isn't this really intense like grudge rivalry that they're trying to build it up to be. But that doesn't mean that it was not a good match. It was a good match. Solo was wearing Usos style face paint. Thought that was pretty cool. Like little war paint. That was pretty fun. Nash saying she enjoyed it. That she loves Solo. DJ wants to Sikoa in the Rumble. I would say it might be a little soon for that one. A guy like Walter most certainly has earned it. I think he's most definitely ready for it. But at the same time, Brian saying call Solo up ASAP. He's bloodline ready. And he looked good here. He's been winning people over. I think he's looking good in his matches. John, what do you think about this one? Solo picked up the win with, of course, the Uso splash through a table. Steven saying it was a great match. Would you agree? Did you like it? Were you glad that Solo won? What are you thinking about the Solo situation at this point?
I thought it was a pretty good match, although I think it's a shame that Boa is kind of taking these losses as he's kind of just. I mean, they're both fresh, but especially with Boa, it could turn into the same situation that Mei Ying turned out, which wasn't really that good. So we'll see what happens. And of course, Xia Li left, and then she goes to SmackDown. So it's kind of like all of those kind of gimmicks were kind of like the same NXT, like this kind of underdog, underground fighter type thing where I'm here to make a statement, and of course, losing again. Sikoa has just turned into a very good talent, and I think while it might be early, I think he probably could step up tomorrow and be a part of the bloodline without much concern as far as his talent goes. I think he I think he just has what it takes. Obviously, because it runs in the family, it's bound to be that way. But I didn't have any problems with the way the match was, other than it's kind of hurtful to see Boa lose again.
I would agree. I think I remain a little skeptical. I always, again, I'm old fashioned. I always say, okay, let's have whoever it might be. By and large, especially if it's a newer guy, a guy like Braun Breaker or anybody else. Spend some time in NXT, get some seasoning, train, experience, all that good stuff. It's kind of like school, and then you kind of graduate, lack of a better word, after a certain period of time. Then you move on. And we've seen that's not necessarily the case. People will get called up pretty quickly. It happened with Hit Row. Didn't work out, unfortunately, but we are seeing it's not necessarily like everybody stays in NXT for a year, 2 years, and then moves on. Like it does seem to be kind of subjective at this point, based on, I guess, if they have plans for you, if they want to use you, or whatever it might be. If you swim whereas others sink, whatever it might be. But with that said, I think, I would agree that Solo could be one of those people that could get called up because the bloodline thing is right there. You could have him be like an enforcer kind of thing where you don't have to have him like wrestle all the time right away. Nesha, of course. Nesha points out that Dominic Mysterio was never in NXT. Sometimes I think that in a way he might have benefited from having time, but obviously they threw him in the deep end. I think it's performed admirably, but I always think it's better spend time in NXT, just get some ground underneath your feet, and then get those high profile situations like that. That doesn't work for everybody, and that's not always going to be the case. But I think with Solo especially, people are the comment that he should be in the Rumble. I think step on the brakes a little bit. Maybe even Mania time. I think could be like realistic-ish, maybe. But I think Solo's looking good. I do agree. He is quickly growing. He's kind of not following that typical pattern again of like taking a while. He's already finding his feet. I think he's looking good. People are rallying behind him and liking that. I also agree about Boa that it's not good for him to be taking losses. I laughed. They had the promo before this match, and it was Boa talking about his supernatural powers. And it was a shot in this very like campy way where he was talking and it was like kind of zooming on his face. And then we got this like on-screen text and it said like the power in me is uncontrollable. And it just seems so silly to me. Like, I don't know. And especially the fact that he's losing anyway. If he was winning, it'd be like, all right, it's a little goofy, but he's winning. No, he's losing pretty regularly here. Steven saying Bo needs a gimmick. It's not working out. I mean, it's a shame that he's had this gimmick maybe 6 months, which isn't all that long. As John, as you said already, Tian Shaw and it, like the whole group is kind of crumbled. So he's kind of the last man standing in that case. So maybe out of necessity, he would be better off kind of with an already getting repackaged. Whereas we've already seen that. Brian saying that Boa has been booked horribly. Unfortunately, yeah, just when you're taking losses like that, combined with not a great gimmick in the first place, not a good combo to say the least. So he was hoping that they do better by him moving forward here. So do want to point out, and we can talk about some things we might see on that show. DJ, yes, NXT Vengeance Day will be back on February 15th, the day after Valentine's Day. That actually lines up nicely because I think last year was a couple days after Valentine's Day. Like, to me, it's pretty much named after Valentine's Day. It's nice to have it kind of like right on top of it like that. So yes, it will be just like Halloween Havoc, just like New Year's Eve. It'll be a TV special on Tuesday night. Looking forward to it. The main event confirmed that we will see a North American title match. Talk about that in a minute. We also know it will have the finals of the men's Dusty Cup. Whoever does wind up getting to that spot remains to be determined. But and also we know, or I feel like we are building toward an NXT title match for that show, because pretty quickly they are setting the gears in motion for Santos Escobar and Braun Breaker. We had a promo tonight. John, Santos Escobar made some very, very good points. He said, Braun Breaker, I despise you because you've gotten handed everything on a silver platter, whereas he's been there for over a year now.
Yeah.
And he really hasn't had those opportunities. He had some shots at the North American title. He won the Cruiserweight title, but he really hasn't quite had that shot in the main event scene, whereas Braun Breaker, again, one of those guys like Von Wagner with NXT 2.0, day one, they got really pushed right into the spotlight. Santos has really kind of had to scrape and claw for it. And I've as with other people on the show, I say every time I talk about him, this guy is great. I want to see them get like pushed to the moon, just to paraphrase Cameron Grimes. So I remain happy that he's getting the spot. Although I do feel like, yes, as Steven's saying, it's going to be a great match, but this feels very, very much like a transitional thing of Braun retaining. John, what are you thinking about Santos versus Braun here, especially potentially being, I would say, what feels like a likely main event for NXT Vengeance Day?
I'm okay with it. It's a little weird that Breaker kind of just was this baby face, although he was kind of hated on for being the kind of the 2.0 leader that took away all the 1.0 things.
He's
I
still a
think
heel in my book, by the way.
he's settled in nicely as kind of a face anyway. It's a good first kind of defense there to fend off like a whole stable of people, so I think it'll work out nicely. And obviously, I think he'll retain it and keep it.
Yeah. Just because I like Santos so much, there's this little part of me that wants them just to like go crazy and have him like win the title in a crazy swerve, I guess. But that would just probably set the brand back a little bit, because as we were talking about, having Braun win, at least like you're committing to this new era, and then having Santos win it, just over a month later probably would not be the best look. Brian saying that Breaker versus Escobar is going to be sick. And again, I thought this was a very good promo from Santos to really build it up here, saying that he liked Santos referencing the Steiner math thing. Patty was talking about how they have a similar background. They both kind of grew up in the business, and they're kind of linked in that sense. But then again, he really focused on like, that may be the case, but I still despise you for the reasons that I mentioned a minute ago. Braun comes out and he tells Santos to shut up in Spanish. I feel what the exact word was. And Santos was like, what? Why do you how could you say that to me? It seemed kind of funny to me. But Braun comes out, beats up Legado, the henchman, if you will, Raul Mendoza and Joaquin, setting up what felt like an inevitable handicap match for next week. But then it turned into, it would be a tag team match if Braun could find a friend. But of course, who would possibly team with the NXT champion? John, as you said, a guy that was hated on and just seemed like didn't have a lot of allies in the back. Well, we had to wait till the very end of the show to find out that it's going to be Tommaso Ciampa. He who has been competing in dark matches and on main event tapings lately. He who seems very, very likely to get called up to the main roster. No, at least for next week, he'll be back here on NXT, teaming up with Braun Breaker against Legado. John, why can't they just get out of their own way? They're setting up the can they coexist thing a week in advance.
I don't know about that. I think that score has been settled. I think it's a sign of respect now. that he's standing kind of by Braun's side. I don't see it as them eventually arguing again and fighting, but and then of course the Steiner math reference at the end again was kind of funny. But yeah, I think we've kind of went that ship has sailed. I think they probably genuinely can get along now at this point, since like I said, it is about respect. They want them each to be babyface. This is a good way to kind of boost that for Braun.
I would agree. There are times that I'm overly optimistic. There are times when I'm overly pessimistic. So here I see Ciampa pop up. Hey, I'm like, cool. Ciampa's great. I'm a big fan of his, and it's good to see that he's
I mean,
on
did you have a
TV.
different suggestion on who it should have been? Because
I'm logically speaking, I like DJ saying Zion Quinn. At least there's that common ground of he doesn't like Legato. Obviously, we had the blow off to their feud, but that doesn't mean that he would just not like. He would just stop disliking them. That he would be. See, it would mean to me that he'd seemingly be willing to work with them. Otherwise, not so much. I like this comment from Stanley Smith saying he thought it was going to be Braun's dad, Rick Steiner. Maybe not, but that's fun to picture, right? The Grem face, what's it, the Gremlin face bulldog or whatever it is, Rick Steiner, classic wrestler there. So I think Zion would make some sense. Ciampa makes sense. I'm skeptical that they're gonna do Ciampa wants his title back, and they're gonna argue like kind of throughout the night, and like how can they possibly coexist? And then I should say they kind of set that up anyway. We had a 6-woman tag team match where two people who actually are a tag team were kind of beefing at least a little bit. We had Persia Parada and Indy Hartwell backstage. Persia was kind of talking a little sweetly about Duke Hudson, who's back and who has hair again, nullifying the fact that he lost his hair. We're going to ignore that. But that seemed to cause a little tension. So he was like, come on, Persia, you got to focus. Even though, as we all know, Indy spent several weeks completely unfocused once she was mourning the absence of Dex Loomis, who was absent this week, unfortunately. But yes, DJ, Team Index wins, at least in this case, quite literally, Team Index, at least the representative one here. So it wasn't a 6-1 tag team match. They did, to me, at least kind of hint at that can they coexist thing of Persia and Indy, having a little tension there. Thankfully, didn't really play out all that much. They got along to the match. That wasn't the problem. Of course, they faced Toxic Attraction, and they're teaming up with Kaylee Ray. Steven saying he's not digging Kaylee Ray with a baseball bat. I'm not digging the way that Kaylee Ray, her inner Damien came out. She brought out the baseball bat. She got mad. And she's like, "Oh, it's time to beat up Mandy Rose's baseball bat." She proceeds to swing it and hit the ring post because she can't wait for Mandy to step away, like 1 foot from the ring post. Then they chase her to the back. I was okay with that part of it because, like, that way it makes sense that you have Indy and Persia win. Because I tweeted during the match that there's no way that on paper Toxic Attraction should lose. They are the champions. They are an established trio. Whereas we have not seen Indy, Persia, and Kaylee Ray team together. At least the kind of distraction having Mandy Rose run away, and that sets up a pretty easy upset. I was okay with that. Brian saying Indy and Persia future Titan champions. I like it. Again, in a division where you don't really have all that many teams, that is definitely a fair prediction. But John, what do you think about this match and the I guess the positive momentum for these respective challengers for the championships?
Yeah, so Persia and Indy have definitely solidified themselves as getting a championship match sooner rather than later. They're probably the next people in line here. Um, More time in the ring has been very good for Persia. She has impressed each time, more and more in the ring. Hartwell, the storytelling hasn't really been there too much, kind of just them having matches and winning, and that's fine. Uh, Ever since the way kind of disbanded there, she's been kind of still finding herself a little bit. And then, of course, Toxic Attraction has already dominated a lot. They've solidified themselves as the top female stable in NXT, and that's fine. They also continue to get better and stronger in the ring as well.
Yeah, I think the growth is pretty evident there. I like Toxic Attraction. I think they're looking good. I would imagine that it will at least see one of the three, or I guess one of the two, either with the women's title or the tag titles get defended at Vengeance Day, or maybe both. I guess both make sense. And we saw they loaded up New Year's Evil, so that would probably actually be the more realistic thing to do at this point. I think they're all still looking pretty darn good. I'm liking it, and at the same time, I guess maybe that's why I don't think any of these challengers, at least right away, are gonna dethrone them. I think Index, or at least Team Index, I guess, again the representative of Index here. They might win at some point because they don't have a lot of teams otherwise. But I don't really see Kaylee Ray beating Mandy Rose at this point, just because I think there's a lot more you can do with Mandy Rose right now. So I'm sure Nationals will be good. I'm looking forward to that. This is kind of the real brunt of the women's division at this point, at least until the women's Dusty Cup starts next month. They didn't make any announcements yet for next week, but obviously next week is February 1st. So I would assume that that'll be starting at some point sooner rather than later. So hopefully we'll see some teams kind of come to fruition there, whereas right now they don't really have a lot of teams, and they really need to kind of make some, because otherwise you need teams to have a tournament, obviously. So with that being said, we do know that we had Io Shirai backstage here with Zoe Stark at one point, and Zoe was trying to get Io to enter the Dusty Cup. But like, even though Zoe's out hurt, she was like, "Oh, but you could do it. You don't you want to win the trophy again?" And Io was like, basically, "No, I don't want another partner." And Zoe interpreted that to mean, "Oh, you don't want another partner because you do like me." Circling back to their classic struggling coexistence, I guess. But that wound up being the open door for Tiffany Stratton to come in and say, I don't even know why. I don't even know why this match happened. She just interrupted and she was like, "I want a match." All right. And then basically they tried to pass it off like Tiffany Stratton in her second match on NXT could hold her own with Io Shirai, former NXT Women's Champion, one of the very best women's wrestlers on the entire roster. Not sure about that one. Thankfully, Io won. I would be a little upset if Tiffany won this match. She didn't. But it does seem weird to me. There was a report that Io and Dakota Kai will be backstage at SmackDown this week, presumably for a dark match, but still noteworthy nonetheless. I joked about it on Twitter that why would Io want to be in the Dusty Cup? She's got her eyes on the main roster. Like she's out of here. She's got that off to the main roster energy at this point. Do want to say yes. I'm that Io won. Brian saying she's happy, but Stratton did look better. This was a market improvement, so that was good. I think that's definitely worthwhile to point out. Stratton went backstage. She was talking to her daddy, John, talking talking about all the weirdos here on NXT. And then, as Deidre points out, she dumped one into his free refill of a drink. Comedy, I guess. I overlook this possibility. Stevenson, Io, and Saraya could be an interesting combo for the Women's Dusty Cup if Io does want to do that. That could be a pretty easily thrown together team. They seem to kind of. We've seen the Kabuki Warriors. We've seen. That's why they go that well a lot. So I feel like they would probably do that again. What in a world where you need to have some thrown together teams with Saraya again, her new gimmick being this anime character thing. Not sure I would actually necessarily want to see that, but that does feel like a pretty realistic option here. But I might as well talk about it. Do you have any picks for the Women's Dusty Cup at this point? Again, as I said, we are rapidly on the road to February here, and that will be starting off sooner rather than later. So even though it's completely shooting in the dark here, any thoughts on what we might see there?
I honestly couldn't even give you even a remotely realistic prediction because I have no idea what the final pairings will end up being, or even where these women will come from. Sometimes they just come out of the blue, so not really sure.
We might see some. I'm predicting. I'm not reporting. I'm predicting we might see some debutantes, some new signings show up. Sorry, I got distracted from Nando. If I'm on the choo choo hype train, unfortunately, my friend, I am not. I'm assuming you're referring to Wendy Chu. She's becoming one of those like online favorites of people that kind of rally around. They're like, "Oh, look at her. She's sleeping and having this fun gimmick." I'm not here for it, man. I was here for the Black and Gold era. I was here for Poppy performing. I was not here for LAJ performing. John, this song was so long, and I didn't really care for it. That's just my musical taste. No knock on LAJ. I'm sure she's very talented. Not the kind of music I prefer. But then they announced, I think this is the new NXT theme song, or at least one of them. And then I'm like, really? This? Oh no! But yes, this segment of the evening this performance, this for me, we made it this far, John, without anything being objectively like really unenjoyable for me. This, John, as DJ so nicely points out, this was toaster time. What do you think about this musical performance here tonight on NXT?
Well, I guess I half agree and half disagree with you. The part that I half agree with is the fact that this wasn't good. But the part that I disagree with is that it was worse than Poppy. This was not worse than Poppy. Poppy
I didn't
was
care for Poppy.
horrible as
I just
well.
more the association, I guess. But
Uh,
yeah, I agree. It wasn't worse. It was not worse.
but I don't see this. I mean, I guess feeling that, hey, she was interacting with us like 10 minutes before she went out there. So give her credit for, um, I don't want to say working the marks, but interacting and basically trying to promote herself. The lady, the lady, I think has less followers than I have on Twitter. So
Ooh,
uh,
John's
did
flex.
did she did earlier tonight, and then of course NXT promoted, and I think she went up to like 3,000. But going into tonight, yes, I did have more than her. So that's not really a flex because I don't have that many. It's just that
Right.
she
I
didn't
know.
have
I
that
know. I
many.
know what you mean.
So, but if people think this was toaster time and that you thought this was bad, then maybe there was something on the show that you might have liked because I know who you like to watch wrestle. And we saw a number one contender match, I guess you would call it tonight. In the main event, Cameron Grimes, Tony D'Angelo. I know you're a Cameron Grimes guy, and I know maybe in the back of your head you were probably thinking that he wasn't going to win this match, but maybe you were. I certainly wasn't. And then, lo and behold, Cameron Grimes wins, and he will move on against Mello at for the NXT North American Championship at Vengeance Day. Grimes is an absolute veteran that's going to be there. He's going to put over. He's not going to win the title. Let me just say that he's not going to win the title. He made even made Tony look very good. And then, of course, Pete Dunne returns, gets himself involved, pretty much costs D'Angelo the match. I expect them to possibly have another match themselves, but break down this main event and then what you thought of the end result.
I do like Cameron Grimes a lot. I think he's great. I especially I would say ever since he came back with the rich man gimmick and the DiBiase stuff, that was fun. And the face turn, like he's been on a roll and he's very good in the ring. I like him a lot. I've always thought he's been he had the $1 million title. I thought that was good, but I feel like he got kind of, or I should say, has gotten shortchanged in the 2.0 era here, whereas he really hasn't gotten to stand out that much, and this has felt, like I said, I thought that he would lose. Time after time, the 2.0 guys win, and we see the more veteran guys kind of suffer for that in the sense that they lose. They don't get these title matches. Grimes is great as a character and gimmick, promos in the ring. There's one spot where D'Angelo was running at him and Grimes kind of caught him and this like Spanish fly in midair. It was crazy. I like Cameron Grimes a lot. I was very happy he won. D'Angelo looked good as well, and obviously it takes two to tango. You need a good dance partner, but you also have to hold your own. I thought D'Angelo did. I thought he looked good in the match with Cameron Grimes, whereas I've come to really think of Tony D'Angelo as a character guy, not an in-ring guy. So it's good to have that kind of that range. That's always good to see. This was very good. As soon as the match started, or even as soon as they announced it, I thought, hey, Grimes versus Waller would be very, very good. Grimes versus Kamau Hayes would be very, very good. I'm like thinking Grayson all over here. So I'm glad we got that. I think that'll be very, very good. That will be, if not the main event of Vengeance Day. I'm not sure if they're going to do an NXT title match, but one of the bigger matches at Vengeance Day. And unfortunately, I would have to agree that it's going to be Carl Hayes walking out with that title. It's going to be a very good match, but Steve Chambers saying he would like to see Grimes get the title. The trick is the wild card in the match. Would not be surprised if Kamau retains. They've teased like a little dissension with Trick and Kamau here and there. I think it'd be a little soon to pull a trigger on that one, even to really substantially advance it with Trick accidentally costing him. Brian's saying they're going to kill it either way, whatever happens. Naturally agreeing that Grimes needs to win the title. I want to see him win gold. He's been talking about going 2020 to the moon, and like that's got to lead to him actually going to the moon. Like, come on, it's overdue. He deserves a title. I want to see that. But definitely, to me, Braun Breaker, Kamal Hayes are like the 1A and 1B of NXT 2.0 at this point. So feels pretty likely that Hayes is going to win that one, but I'm sure it is going to be good. But then, yes, Pete Dunne comes back at the end of the match, and I couldn't really see it. Like if he comes like out from the crowd, and he's got this object in his hand, John, and I can't quite see what it is, and I admittedly had a bit of a brain fart. I see the object, and I'm like, oh, he's got a paddle. And I was like, this man's like paddling Tony D'Angelo, and I thought of the Simpsons, the thing with the character like that's a paddling, and I just thought that was hilarious. I had a lot of fun with that, and of course I was wrong. I was wrong. Okay, yes, Stephen Chambers and other people on Twitter informed me that it was a cricket bat because Pete Dunne is from the other side of the pond. So yes, that also does make sense. I was wrong on that one. I apologize. I love the thought of him literally paddling Tony D'Angelo. That does seem fun to me. But yes, Pete Dunne's back. I don't know why they held a funeral for the man, John. Like, let him go. he's been rumored for a call up. He seems to make sense to go to Raw or SmackDown to be in the Rumble at the very least. You have a funeral for a man, might as well have him move somewhere else to do something else, and rather than literally in a way come back to life like a zombie Pete Dunne. John, what is this?
I don't know why. I don't know what's gonna happen, but I do agree that it is not ideal. It's just seems kind of trashy that they're doing this because like they don't need to. They have the talent they need to move past this, but for some reason they're not.
Yeah, Brian pointing out, and I would agree that this would seem to be why they're doing it. Brian's saying he assumes we're going to get one more match from Dunn and D'Angelo in this case to put Tony over for good. Well, that's like beating a dead horse. He lost in a crowbar and a pole match. They had a funeral for him, so D'Angelo got that moment. So no, I thought that would make sense to do that. And now, how do you go up from a crowbar on a pole match? Are they going to do a buried alive match because he had this whole funeral? I think that'd be kind of fun. Don't exactly expect that, but that'd be pretty darn interesting there. But no, it does seem a little redundant in a way to do that when you've already done this. Like he's already put him over. He's not going to. I would assume he's not going to win the rematch unless I'm wrong, and then he's sticking around and he winds up challenging for the title. Like that would just kind of would seem a little counterintuitive. Like I think the time has come. He's ready to move to the main roster, unless they just don't want to do that. Like unless that's not the plan. And in that case, I think that's a waste. But then we know Roderick Strong. Spoiler alert, was on main event and he lost to T-Bar, so that bodes well. Yeah, LA Knight also was on main event tapings there. They had a brief DJ Planet's not last night. They had a brief interaction with the Dirty Dogs for some reason that is very unclear to me. I don't know if that's going to go anywhere, but Pete Dunne definitely seems like a guy that could succeed on main roster. He's very, very good. I hope he gets that chance. Nando pointing out that it seems like SmackDown material more. I mean, I think either really. I think I could see him. I forget who. But someone mentioned last week they could see him kind of reuniting with Riddle. They were a tag team briefly as the Broserweights, if you may remember, back in the good old days. So I think that would be fun. But I think he'd do good on SmackDown as well. I think either way, I'm pretty much by and large always rooting for some of these NXT black and gold stars, I guess, to kind of move on because otherwise I don't really know where they're going. A guy like Roderick Strong, yeah, he's going to have this match next week, but then what? A guy like Pete Dunne, I don't see him beating Tony D'Angelo, then what? So I think the time has come, at least in my book, to have this kind of that transition in that sense, as we've already seen, because now when it's a little bit of a limbo with the hangers on there, but nonetheless, I would like to see that. I'm sure, assuming we are going to get one more match, will be good. That being said, I love the fact that it was a paddle, or I thought it was a paddle. I thought that was fun. John, with that being said, good, bad, in between. Toaster time or not. What do you think about NXT 2.0 tonight?
5.5.
Wow, I don't think you've gone that low in a while.
It's
We've had
been
some rough ones.
it's easy to skip. You don't feel like you're in a rush to catch up, or you don't feel like you need to miss something that's going to be good or whatever. It's just, and I say this now, but I would probably go Mania weekend for a takeover just because they usually do deliver. I know it's costing and deliver. It's a little ironic, but they usually do deliver. Uh, the roster they got now, it would be hard to match what they've done in the past, but they certainly could if they tried hard enough. What about you? What did you think?
It's funny that I think I've been resisting this shift a little bit, but watching the show tonight, especially opening with Jacket Time, watching how Ikemanjiro is wrestling and the Jacket's just staying on through everything he's doing, and the concert and Von Wagner, and that wasn't that wasn't even that offensive, but just all the things kind of put together here. It's quickly becoming like it's like watching a bad movie, where it's like you watch it and I'm increasingly not taking it seriously in a way where I'm really trying not even trying to get upset. I'm more just like, yep, this is happening and trying to roll with it. I'm just trying to have fun with it as best I can because there's just some stuff. It's just like, wow, this is not great. The 1-2 stuff I'm not feeling. The Boa stuff seemed goofy. It's looking a little rough here and there. You gave it a 5.5. For me, it didn't feel like drastically worse than some of the things we've seen recently. I did like Santos and Braun. MSK Jack Time was good. Can't knock that.
You might go with like an 8, right?
No, my friend. I know. I barely gave Smack. Well, okay, the height of like the SmackDown run, Roman Reigns, I would give that like an 8. This is not that. I would go for a fairly solid 6. I don't even know what I've rated the show recently. This feels like lower, and I guess that's fitting because like maybe that's more of a general reflection of my mindset. Nashville with 6.5. Steven in alignment with my 6 as well. You gave it a 5.5. Stanley, the 9.1. As I always say, if you sit here and if you really, really, really like this show, I say kudos to you. I respect you. I respectfully disagree, but we're here to talk about it and join minds and share our thoughts on it. That just because I like something, dislike something. If I'm on Raw saying, "Gee, this Veer thing is the funniest thing ever," and if you don't think it's funny, if you don't like it, that's fine. Like everyone, as I say yet again, everyone has their own cup of tea. You're more than welcome to disagree. That is fine. We're just here to come together and talk about it and enjoy it, or try our best in this case. Brian giving it a 6.2, saying did not like the Ali J performance. That was not so good. Michael giving an 8 despite his girl Olivia not knowing how to perform well. Ouch! I think Michael mentioned earlier that she's from his home state. Yeah, that was a bit of a low point there. Nando switching up his animals here, giving NXT 2.0 5 frogs and 1 duck. We get a whole little mini zoo over there where Nando is. Oh, Nando, kudos here. See, NXT 2.0 is mid. Shout out to the classic MJF promo, mid. Yes, I think it's even like below mid at this point, if that's even possible. Oh boy, yeah. That's just saying nothing stands out. Well, no, things stand out, but not in a good way. Not in a good way. I tweeted at one point. I saw that Dude Cutson came back and he had hair, and I tweeted like, "Oh, Grayson Waller shaved his head." It was mostly a typo, but it kind of reflected most of these people, unless it's a Braun Breaker or someone else. Or Santos elsewhere, some of these people that really stand out, they are so like just they run together, and like I have trouble remembering names, and I watch the show every week. I'm sitting here, I'm watching the show, I'm paying attention, I'm covering the show, I'm taking notes, and even then, there are times where I just like forget what it takes me like a I get like some little like temporary dementia. I'm like, who's that again? And then thankfully it passes and I'm okay. But my gosh, not good. It's not good. Brian, as always, we're curious to see what the ratings will be tomorrow. Ironically, today we saw Raw had the highest viewership since October on a show where they didn't announce a single match ahead of time. So as far as I'm concerned, ratings and being able to predict how things are going to go, totally out the window. I would have assumed Raw would have been a little down, but they were up. Granted, they weren't facing football, so that's obviously a dynamic. Speaking of ratings, we know, I think it's maybe right before Vengeance Day. They're moving to the US to Sci-Fi to the Olympics, or maybe it's after that for 2 weeks. If I remember correctly, I don't remember which day exactly.
That
But
Tuesday is on Sci-Fi, I think.
that sucks.
Vengeance
Like,
Day is on Sci-Fi, I'm pretty
oh
sure.
no, that's a bummer. If I'll double check on that one. That sounds right. That's the way the cookie crumbles. They're gonna try and make it the best show they can, regardless. But that's the thing, right? These things, you got to have things that convince people to tune in, and when you don't, that's why it suffers. So, I'm sure Wednesday will be good no matter what. We got this. Today is the 25th, so as we record, so we've got next week, and then. Oh, okay. 2 more weeks. 2 weeks, and then they want out as Vengeance Day, so they have some time to build it up. Hopefully, they do it well. We'll see the Dusty Cup on the men's side continue. Hopefully, we'll see some more hype for the NXT title, for the women's title, all these things. Hopefully, it'll be a good show. But that's way off in the future. We'll be back here next Tuesday to talk about whatever does happen on NXT. Otherwise, Robert D. Flace and I will be here on Friday to talk about SmackDown. John, you and I will be back here Monday to talk about Monday Night Raw. John, you're going to the Royal Rumble this weekend in St. Louis. So I will likely, as I did with day one, do a show on Sunday. Because, folks, the Royal Rumble is on Saturday. I'm off on Saturday. So I'm gonna just take my time, and I'm gonna tune out the internet, and then I'm gonna watch it probably like Sunday morning. Just gonna get away. And I'll be here probably Sunday, as I usually am, doing a show. Once I nail down the specific plan, I'll let you know. But as we do that, John, hope you have a good time there. I'm sure Royal Rumble will be fun. Hopefully, we'll see. Speaking of NXT, some NXT faces there, and both or either Rumbles. Shout out to Nando for the NXT analogy here, saying NXT is like being on a date with a person who's all right. But you wouldn't want to see them on the regular if you had to. I don't even know if I'd go that far. I appreciate it. I don't know if I agree, because like that would be like you'd want to. Okay, I see it. It's like you'd want to see them like every once in a while. Like if you bump into them, be like, oh hey, you're you. How's it going, you? And then you or maybe it's. I don't know. We appreciate the effort, Nando. I'm trying to think of how I might phrase it myself, but definitely not someone you'd want to keep seeing on the regular, especially with a show like tonight. But John, last minute here, Rumble picks before as we're recording. This will be the last time we see you until Monday. So last picks here on the hot seat, men's and women's Rumbles.
Oh, let's go with I gotta stick with my original gut and say Bianca Belair on the women's side,
And
on the men's side, Roman Reigns.
Very realistic picks, and I would agree. And I think those could easily happen. I'm hoping for some surprises. I'm hoping for Bayley. We talked about Ronda Rousey last night. I'm not sure about that, but I think Bayley would be fun as a not a surprise, but more of like a thing you would expect to see, but isn't confirmed yet. I think it's gonna be good. But last minute picks here: Steven going with AJ Styles for the men, Ronda for the women's if she shows up. Naturally saying Bayley and Austin Theory. She's sticking with her guns and saying Austin Theory. It could happen. Anything could happen here. Ryan saying Kevin Owens for the men, Bianca Belair on the women's. Getting some support from Bianca Belair. Maybe we'll have some last minute contenders emerge on Friday, the absolute go home show, Rumble the next day. Real quick here, David's asking where you're sitting, John. Do you get good seats? Do you get?
Oh yeah, I'm right behind the hard cam, like a couple rows up. I'll be posting pictures, so keep your eyes out.
And likewise, Johnny Goat, as we discovered last night, you were going to the rival territory of AEW for Beach Break tomorrow, in the wonderful beaches of Cleveland. So are you gonna be wearing beach clothes in the middle of
I
winter,
am
John?
wearing a Hawaiian button-up shirt. I'll be fitting the theme, you know. I'll be fitting the theme.
As you should. I'm sure you'll be rocking the Hawaiian shirt there. To clarify, I messed up Nana's analogy. I want to shout him out here. He's saying about the NXT analogy. He means like it's like someone you see you go on a first date with, and you see they're okay to hang out with. You see, hang out here and there. Maybe have some fun. Nothing too serious. Keep it casual, but never enter that serious relationship there. With NXT 2.0 at this point. So yes, it would be easiest to watch it casually, but we're here. We have to watch it every week. There are worse things to watch. It's fine. It's fine. Lastly here, Johnny Gargano's on my brain. We're talking about NXT. A lot of people, John, are thinking Johnny Wrestling might show up at Beach Break tomorrow. It's in Cleveland, his hometown. Connecting those dots, maybe helping out his best friend in Orange Cassidy, maybe popping up there. Do you see it, or do you see him maybe taking a little more time to be with the family?
Oh
And
God, please no, please, no,
John
please
Clark,
no,
what?
no, please no. He does
Why,
not belong there. He absolutely does not belong there. He should
John?
not be going there.
Breaking my heart, man. You're breaking this rebel heart over here. Why not? Brian Everett saying he's hoping for Johnny. Jesus pointed out that Johnny should just be with his pregnant wife. I mean, there's some truth to that. Johnny can do whatever he wants to do, but he has said he wants to be with his family. But some people are thinking that he'll show up and then proceed to take time away to be with his family. John, what's this hate for the heart and soul of NXT?
His
Okay,
home is not there. His home is not there. He's
but he
not going there.
left. He chose to
Main
leave.
roster, brother. Ask my buddy Sean Smith. He'll tell you.
I think he fits. I'm sorry. I think he fits a heck of a lot more better in AEW than on the main roster. I don't trust him to do right by him. DJ saying we could see we're going to go back to NXT.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you.
Michael saying him going to NXT it is not the way to borrow from both the Mandalorian and of course the way this is the stable. I would agree. I realistically to put a bow on it, I would agree with Nesha. I would think, as a prediction, again, I do not know. People can do whatever they want to do, and I have no idea what anyone's thinking. But I would think Johnny might just say, "Hey, gonna take time with family." He has said that before. He wants to be with Candace, be with Padme, his wonderful dog, and wait the birth of the child, and then see what happens then. Because he has said he was on TV for like 7 years nonstop, so he has certainly earned the right to do that. So I hope the best for him. I loved his run in NXT. I made that no secret. I was very, very sad when he left. So I want the best for him and I want the best for NXT. We're sitting here talking about it. It's a little rough here and there. As Nacho said, it's not the kind of thing you get in a committed relationship with by any means. But hopefully we'll be in for a better show. A little bit less toaster time side of things next week. With that being said, we thank you all so much for tuning in and trying to enjoy the show and talking NXT here on a Tuesday night. And with that said, the world remains a scary place, but we come here to try and do one thing together. John, can you tell me what that is?
Enjoy wrestling.
Indeed.